I think we are all past the point of pretending that when the richest, most powerful people on earth get together, they have anyone's best intentions in mind except their own. And of course, they wrap it in language like global good and philanthropy, and they stage it at Davos, and they parade it through initiatives like the Clinton Global Initiative. But what they're really doing is consolidating money and power, and it certainly appears this is how the blueprint for the world's pandemic response actually originated. Not in a Wuhan wet market in 2020, but nearly a decade earlier, when a convicted billionaire sex trafficker and a pervert billionaire with a God complex tried to corner the market on global biosecurity using the threat of a plague to get it. And according to the emails, this wasn't even Gates' idea initially. It was Epstein's. Behold. Please find attached a draft agenda for the meeting on preparing for pandemics as requested. Let's discuss next steps. For example, how to officially involve the World Health Organization and the ICRC, i.e. co-branding. Best regards, and I hope we can pull this off. I mean, he was directing the formation of something called Project Molecule, which was the internal code name for the massive financial structure that eventually became known as the Global Health Investment Fund. Now, this is a partnership between JP Morgan and the Gates Foundation to create a permanent apparatus that would A, surveil the developing world for pathogen outbreaks, B, create and deploy vaccines, C, operate through an offshore structure with donor anonymity, and provide investors with some legal form of protection. Does it sound far-fetched? Here's another email on the matter between Epstein and Gates. Let's read it. I'll get more detailed answers, but for now, I'm not sure what you mean by R&D. No input from the foundation into investments? Donors can choose from either a custom-made portfolio or a choice of silos and be able to switch. A mutual fund concept. Most initially, this should be American. However, we should be ready with an offshore arm, especially for vaccines. The donor-advised limits influence regarding grants, but allows great flexibility on investments. Anonymity is varied. Why do you need anonymity? Why do you need an offshore arm? What the hell were they planning to do? Well, I think we learned. So what would be sold to us as disaster mitigation was disaster profiteering. They were literally architecting a structure to financialize and militarize public health. And Epstein, he positioned himself as the connector, right? The guy who could access sovereign wealth funds, ultra high net worth donors, Middle Eastern capital that Gates, at that time at least, couldn't reach on his own. And the centerpiece was a massive investment vehicle targeting $100 billion that would blend philanthropy with venture capital. And here's what the fund was going to do. It was going to invest in biotech and vaccine companies. It was going to finance drug development for diseases affecting the developing world, build a global pathogen surveillance network, deploy vaccines through unaccountable public-private partnerships, and of course, return profits to investors. This was the innovation, public health as an asset class. So disease prevention wasn't just medicine anymore. It became a portfolio strategy. Biosurveillance, vaccine production, distribution networks, all under one massive structure that answered to nobody but the investors, not governments. And here's how they planned to sell it. They built a simulation, a respiratory virus, just like the one that we eventually got, tearing through the globe. And of course, it didn't focus on the hospitals, didn't focus on the body count. It focused on the markets. They showed these billionaires a world where borders close, trade stops, supply chains collapse, and their personal fortunes evaporate overnight. So the pitch was not, help us save lives. The pitch was, nice fortune you got there. Shame if a virus destroyed it. The deal, of course, had a double bottom line. Massive financial return plus portfolio protection. So why did the deal fall apart? Well, Epstein wanted a 0.3% management fee on a $100 billion fund. So that's $300 million a year just for being the guy who connected billionaires to Gates' science. To which both JP Morgan and Gates' team balked and eventually backed out, but not really, because the idea didn't die. They just cut Epstein out and they built it for themselves. So the concept that Epstein originally pitched materialized without him as the Global Health Investment Fund backed by the Gates Foundation and JP Morgan sans Epstein. The fund invests in biotech companies developing drugs and vaccines for diseases affecting the developing world. Shocker. All right, guys, if you like this clip and you want to watch the full episode, click here. And if you want more content like this, you can subscribe to the show by clicking here.